As much as I love my healthy eating and my salads, I'll admit sometimes even I like a creamy big plate of macaroni and cheese. So that's what I'm going to be making and sharing with you today. I'm starting off with my favorite pasta, which is Barilla. This is a brand you can get in any supermarket. Please don't use Muller's. Muller's turn very mushy. And I'm using their Barilla elbows, and they're kind of twisty elbows. They're not your straight elbows. Go ahead and get your pasta in some boiling water. Do not salt the water, and I will explain. The next thing to do is to heat up your milk. Yes, we're making a bechamel or cream sauce. Do not make it with cold milk, and I'll explain as I move along. Once your pasta is to your liking, drain it and reserve. Please reserve 1 cup of pasta water, and I'll explain that too. Now, I'm using some smoked Gouda. I'm going to use some extra sharp cheddar, and I'm going to use some mozzarella, starting off by grating my smoked Gouda. While I'm grating the cheese and the milk is warming up, there we are. We reserve 1 cup of that pasta water. Very important. Go ahead and melt a half a stick of butter. Now, yes, macaroni and cheese is a rich dish, but I am just going to use a half a stick of butter. There is no need to go crazy with the butter. A half a stick will do. Now, I am going in with some flour because we're making a roux. Now, I see people dump all the flour in and go crazy whisking. Don't do that. To make a proper roux, whisk your flour in a little at the time, whisking constantly. This is what will help you not have a super lumpy or a gritty, weird texture because you're gently incorporating the flour into the butter. That's very important. If you're a person that's had trouble with gritty cheese sauce, well, you probably dumped all that flour in there. That's thing 1. Now, thing 2, you add in warm milk. Now, the reason why anytime you're making a gravy or cream sauce or custard, anything, always use warm milk. If you pour cold milk or cold water into a gravy or anything like that, it makes it seize up and it can become very gritty and grainy. So heat up the milk, folks. If you're using water to make a gravy, heat up the water. You will notice a dramatic difference in your cream sauce. Now, you want to go ahead and keep your temperature at medium-low. Don't crank up the heat for this. Just keep it in a nice medium-low. And I'm going to use a whisk, and then I'm going to bounce back and forth between a spatula. The spatula allows me to get into all the little nooks and crannies in the pot and make sure I get a nice smooth sauce. Now, I'm going in with heavy hand on the black pepper and some pink Himalayan salt. If you don't like black pepper, you can use white pepper. Or you can use a combination of both. I forgot to add the white pepper, but if you think to add the white pepper, go ahead and add it. And I'm using some Coleman's regular mustard. You can use mustard powder, but I prefer to use just regular prepared mustard. You don't need much, about a teaspoon. And I'm going to go in a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Yes, this is smoked paprika, not sweet paprika. Sweet paprika can give it a sweet flavor. Smoked, because I'm using smoked Gouda, it ties in with the smoked flavor. Now I'm going in with some, not all, of my mozzarella cheese. I'm going to reserve about a half a cup of my mozzarella cheese, and I will explain. I'm adding in the smoked Gouda. Don't reserve any of it. Just add it all into the cheese sauce. Now, keep your heat down to medium-low and gently mix your cheese into your bechamel. Now, if you notice, I still have some milk. That is because the last thing you want is a watery cheese sauce. So reserve some of that milk, and then you can kind of bring your cheese sauce to the level of creaminess you like by adding more milk or less milk. But this definitely needs more milk. That would just be a little too much cheese in your face. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the remaining milk. Give it a stir. And once again, we're working on a gentle heat. You don't want your cheese sauce to become gritty or even worse, scorch. And it can. So just be really gentle with your heat. And like I say, bounce back and forth between a spatula and a a whisk. Now I am going in with my shredded extra sharp cheddar cheese. You can use any combination of cheeses you like. The only cheese I would not suggest would be something like Swiss cheese. That would be a little bit weird. In the South, we don't do Swiss cheese. Not in macaroni and cheese. Now, I am going in with Greek yogurt. This is a thick Greek yogurt. I know, but not all Greek yogurts are thick. If yours is a little watery, you can strain it. Now, my aunties uses sour cream. I prefer Greek yogurt because it's a little low on the calories and it's a little tangier, and you want that tang balance with all of that creamy cheese. And now, time for that reserved cup of pasta water. You remember? This is what we're going to do with it. Pour it right over the noodles. Pasta is very thirsty, and it will absorb whatever you put to it. Some people will add more butter. I prefer to use the pasta water, which is already starchy. And it helps the noodles it gives them something to absorb before they start absorbing the cheese sauce. And that is why we didn't salt the pasta water. You will be adding quite a bit of salt to your macaroni and cheese at this point. Go ahead and pour in all of that delicious cheese sauce. And I do need to say something here. In the South, there is a difference between macaroni and cheese and mac and cheese. So if you ate it like this is mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is not baked in the oven. Where I come from, we get a casserole dish. We spray it or we spread it with a little bit of butter. And we bake it in. We add the macaroni and cheese and we bake it in the oven. And that is the difference between mac and cheese and macaroni and cheese. So yes, you can eat it like that. But no, I am not going to. I'm going to go ahead and do what my ancestors have always done, which is I'm going to bake my mac and cheese. And I'm actually going to do one and put it in the freezer and then bake it off whenever I need it. So I have one dish to eat now. And then I have one casserole to go into the oven and bake off at a later date. So I'm like thinking ahead. I'm prepping ahead, which is what I love to do. Now, add in some of your macaroni and cheese into your pan. And this is where those reserved cheeses that we set aside come into play. Just sprinkle the cheese. Layering it gives you a nice, bold, cheesy flavor. And my aunties always, either they use cube cheese or they use shredded cheese and mix it in unmelted. And that gives you a really, really nice, cheesy flavor. And I mean, who doesn't love extra cheese? Now, we did not eat macaroni and cheese often growing up. As I've said earlier, my family are not big pasta people. We're not big noodle people. So macaroni and cheese was like the special occasion. And I mean, really rare special occasion. I know people think everybody from the South eat macaroni and cheese every week, but no, it's not true. It's a special occasion food set aside for family reunions, potlucks, Sunday dinners, that sort of thing. But no, we don't eat macaroni and cheese all the time. So go ahead and just top the macaroni and cheese with the remaining cheese. This is going to give you a nice brownness. Now, I have a bit of a controversy. There are people who put breadcrumbs, cornflakes, croutons, whatever on top of macaroni and cheese. And I'm sorry, I have issues with that. To me, it's outrageous. And it is never, Lord will I live, it's never gonna happen in my kitchen. There will be no breadcrumbs on macaroni and cheese. Where I come from, if you serve somebody macaroni and cheese with a crunchy top, that tells us you overbaked it and you burnt it. I'm sorry. So there will be no breadcrumbs on macaroni and cheese in my house. Now, if you like breadcrumbs on your macaroni and cheese, go right ahead and add your breadcrumbs to your mac and cheese. But as I say, in my family, if you show up with breadcrumbs on macaroni and cheese, they're going to be very polite. They might take a bite or two, but you won't be asked to bring a dish next time. They'll just say, stick with some coleslaw, honey. Now, spray your aluminum foil. That stops the cheese from sticking to the foil. That's another one of my pet peeves. People not spraying it if you're putting aluminum foil on top of cheese. because it's gonna stick. So just spray it. A little bit of vegetable oil or some baking spray will do the job very nicely. Now this is my make-ahead macaroni and cheese. So I am going to wrap it up just as I'm gonna put it in the oven, and I'm going to label it and put baking instructions, because who knows, I might give this to somebody. So at least they know what it is and they know how to bake it. And you can bake this straight from frozen. You don't need to thaw it out. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't thaw it out. Just put it in a 350-degree oven and bake it for right around 45 minutes. It may take, you can take the lid off and bake it for an additional 10 minutes so you can get a nice and golden crust. But there is my make-ahead mac and cheese. So you see, I am looking ahead and making sure that I have something to serve if need be. Or as I say, I can just give this to somebody as a dish and they have a side dish ready to go. So I'm just going to pop that right into the freezer and it's ready. Now for the eat today macaroni and cheese, I'm going to put this on a baking sheet and slide it into the oven and let it bake at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you want to crank that oven heat up to 400 degrees. Remove the lid from your delicious bubbly macaroni and cheese. And, ooh, that looks really, really good. Now, when we were kids, this is actually how we liked it. We didn't like the golden bubbly cheese, at least me. I was happy with this, but there would be outrage if I put it on the table and the cheese was not all bubbly. So put the mac and cheese up near the upper part of the oven, near the upper rack. So, because we want to brown right now. We don't necessarily need to be cooking. By the way, don't overcook your macaroni and cheese. If you overcook your macaroni and cheese, it's going to be dry. And there is no going back from overcooked macaroni and cheese. Thank you, Jesus. That looks so good. Like I say, this is not an everyday thing, and I highly suggest that you do like my family does and save it for special occasions. But if you need it, there is nothing like a good bowl of macaroni and cheese. Now, a tip: let your macaroni and cheese cool covered. That will also help it to keep from drying out. But thank you, Jesus. That looks so good and it is delicious. It is a classic dish. I want to say a Southern dish, but I am not going to take anything away from anybody. There are many of you all over the world who love macaroni and cheese. So we Southerners cannot claim it. Not 100%, because this is a dish we have to share. And I'm very happy to share it with everybody. Even if you live in the Arctic, you should be making macaroni and cheese on special occasions. And of course, even though this is way before I serve it, I got to get a little taste. So I'm just going to have just a little bit, have a taste. Yes, it is molten hot. Macaroni and cheese is actually better if you let it sit for a little while before you eat it. It just gives it the time to let all the flavors go through. But from the cheese sauce to the extra cheese to the Greek yogurt, which give it that nice little tang, that little hint of smoked paprika and the smoked Gouda, you can't go wrong. If you're bringing a dish to a dinner, you can't go wrong with a delicious casserole of macaroni and cheese. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the follow button, like, comment, share. Put the fork down, Sarah. Back away. Packing away, and the good Lord willing, I'll see you guys in another video.